Goeienaand. Good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And this is a shout out to Lynn, who sent me this article, which is basically about a miscarriage of justice in Coligny. And it's an absolutely appalling situation, an example of how duplicitous the judicial system is in South Africa. Pieter Schutte and Pieter Doorewaard are two men like any other, working, salt of the earth people in this world. There is nothing that I can see that overtly sets them apart from the rest of us. Oh, there is one thing. In doing their job on a farm in South Africa, just like they did every other day of their lives, they could never have foreseen what would transpire that day. I'd be willing to bet. Both men would tell you. They never imagined being in the position they are in today, both sitting in a South African prison with a very lengthy sentence for a murder that was not a murder at all, but an accident. An accident they are not responsible for. We, as human beings, make choices that we must live with, the consequences of these choices. The young man being taken to the police station for stealing chose to jump out of the truck, breaking his neck. I do not see where a charge of murder fits into this at all. I do not fall into that irony, in this case, as it relates to murder in South Africa. With a murder rate of 34.2 per 100,000, only 8% are ever prosecuted. Coincidentally, I discovered that Judge Ronald Hendricks, who presided over this case and frankly went against all physical and forensic evidence, is now up for a very high-profile position. This case is an example of why there is no law and order in South Africa, why there is no accountability. Nothing makes sense, yet the cycle continues. I'm writing this because I felt compelled to speak out on Phillip and Pieter's behalf. I've been following this case for a long time. When you look at every picture of these two young men in the courtroom during the trial, the look on their faces turns my stomach. I can literally see the disbelief, horror, panic, exasperation, desolation, and hopelessness. It's all there in every single photo. These men are innocent, and they sit in a place where they're like the only two Christian white males. The overwhelming majority of overpopulated prison is mostly black African men who practice sangoma and feel they have conquered the Afrikaner tribe because the black majority rules in South Africa today. This mentality has led to countless atrocities being committed against the white minority population in South Africa. Unspeakable crimes, war crimes against humanity. When Phillip and Pieter came across the young black male stealing from the farm they worked on, it was business as usual. They had been in this situation numerous times. The two men detained the young man and proceeded to take him to the police station. On the way to the police station, while rounding a curve, the young man jumped out of the back of the truck. He sustained a broken neck from this. One of the accused immediately called the police for help, which is documented. The two police officers originally assigned to the case were later removed after they had serious doubts about the story of the so-called witness. These two investigators did not believe this witness. The witness lied and changed his story so many times, it's hard to keep up. They were taken off the case and replaced with someone who knew nothing about it. Neither original investigator showed up to testify in the court because they feared for their lives and the lives of their families, and you'll see why in a second. Why should an investigator fear testifying in court? Early in the case, Wilkes van Locherenberg, a court magistrate, also recused himself because he lived in the community and feared for the safety of his family. Well, why was that the situation? Let's hear. When Julius Malema and the EFF have burned half of Coligny, sat behind Phillip and Pieter at every court appearance, threatened his family's law enforcement and anyone else they could terrorize, people tend to be afraid. The EFF and others threatened to burn the entire town, kill the families of the accused, kill the accused, terrorize everyone if these men were not found guilty. The news media first reported the young man killed Masuio as being 12 years old. No one knew his name for an entire week because his parents did not even notice he was missing. Reports then said he was 16 and some 17. The fake news media reported falsely and unfairly on this from the beginning. The truth did not fit the narrative, so they fabricated the story as they went along. The rioting in Coligny began before Masuio even had a name, much less anyone knowing what circumstances he died under. White people's homes were burned, a liquor store looted before being burned, and a hotel. Whites in Coligny were assailed by massive groups of thugs, brandishing knives and other weapons, robbing and terrorizing them. Blacks completely ignored the facts of the case. When Phillip and Pieter were released on bail, it was on conditions they go into hiding outside of the town. Upon their release on bail, the riots started up again. More homes were set ablaze and looted, including the house of a white doctor in Coligny who treated everyone as equal, not discriminating based on race. It may seem trivial to people that the young man was being taken to the police for stealing sunflower seeds, but in the bigger picture is South African farmers who, having been driven into bankruptcy because livestock and produce thefts, the crimes are rampant. They are forced to take even a minor offence seriously to thwart future attempts. From the day of Masuio's death, the case has been in shambles. The witness, Bendel Pakisi, a very questionable character with a lot of motives to give false information. He said he and Masiwi had been driven all over the countryside for hours and tortured horribly. Phillip and Pieter's cell phone records prove they never left the area. He stated that they were beaten and shot at. At one point he said that he passed out from being beaten so much, and he doesn't know how long he was out. He claimed in court that Masuio was thrown from the truck after the hours of torture and abuse. Pakisi changed his story so many times leading up to the trial and is completely unreliable. What stands out the most is the forensic pathologist, Dr. Awida Murat, who testified to the exact opposite of what Pakisi claimed took place. She stated that there was no defensive wounds on the body of the victim and no wounds consistent with being beaten and tortured for hours. She said his injuries were consistent with a fall or tuck and roll. Her testimony confirmed the victim jumped off rather than being thrown. If you were thrown off something moving at a decent rate of speed, you would instinctively put your hands out to break your fall. He had no wounds to his hands, wrists or forearms. Likewise, Pakisi never brought forward any corroborating evidence or any of his outrageous claims, nor is there one witness to Pakisi having any type of injuries consistent with being beaten or tortured for hours. Judge Hendricks ruled that the forensic pathologist's report corroborated the witness's testimony. Can you believe that? What? Yes, this is what he said in his final judgment. He chose to take the witness' testimony over the forensic and physical evidence, a witness who had lied about 10 different versions of what took place that day. Please note, after the trial, a house was built for this so-called witness. What did Phillip and Pieter get? What did Phillip and Pieter's families suffer through all this and still today? This witness rewarded for his many lies and innocent men sent to prison, with their families left to pick up the pieces and continue to fight for them. You can never give up on people who are innocent and being persecuted. Eventually the truth wins. They were denied the first appeal filed, but shortly thereafter AfroForum agreed to pick up their case. Since then, they have been granted the motion for the second appeal. They are eligible for bail, yet the corrupt court system stalls, holding their paperwork and dragging this process out, likely on purpose. There is a common problem in South Africa with court cases and timeframes. This case is very important because these men are innocent men. There should not be a moment wasted in getting them home to their families. Rational thought process is a hard thing to come by in South Africa. There is so much blind hatred for the years of brainwash by the ANC and others that it outweighs common sense and human decency. It is a very horrible situation, and I cannot imagine living this way every day of my life. If this can be done to Phillip and Pieter, it can be done to anyone who does not have the right colour skin to gain justice or empathy in South Africa. This story has not ended yet. It will be at the end when these two innocent men are at home with their families for good. Until then, it will never be over. Continue to keep these families in your thoughts and prayers, because we must not forget every person to bring awareness to the blatant miscarriage of justice is a voice added to the growing outrage. We have the power in numbers. We must shine a spotlight on this case and the problems with the court. Put their feet to the fire. Let them know the world is watching. Well, we've just done that. This case is absolutely ridiculous, and clearly what happened in the courtroom was that the judge and the witnesses were basically intimidated by Julius Malema and the EFF and what they would do to the town of Coligny if these two innocent people were let off. It is just disgusting. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, ring the bell for the updates, please like this video, and above all, stay safe.